Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. My name is Susie. I am your host and I am an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. Today's episode, you are going to be hearing a conversation between myself and Jenny from Starseed Academy. Jenny is such a beautiful soul. It was an absolute pleasure to have her on as my guest. She is a psychic teacher, master channeler, and spiritual business mentor. And Starseed Academy, as you'll hear in our conversation today, has different offerings for not only adults but children. Jenny is helping everybody who wants to open themselves up, connect to their gifts and abilities, and then share those with the world to help others do the same. Starseed Academy was founded in 2019, and I would highly recommend the YouTube channel that I will link in the show notes so you can go and see more about what Jenny does. I will, of course, as always, put all of Jenny's contact details, socials, website into the show notes today. Jenny would consider that her divine mission with Starseed Academy is to support awakening souls as we create the new Earth paradigm together and to activate starseeds into their soul gifts and Earth mission. We get into so many good topics today. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode, and I will see you next week for the next episode.
Hello and welcome to Jenny from Starseed Academy. I am so excited to have Jenny as a guest on with me today. So Jenny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, first of all, so much for having me. I'm really in awe of the work that you've been doing and how deeply you've gone into Akashic Records and everything that they hold for us. They're so misunderstood. Like they're some dusty old library of just these closed books that are dead. They're alive. They're alive and they're timelines and I always see them as like they're timelines. They're like your future, your parallel, your past. They're all these lifetimes. And many of them are just still alive and doing timeline work is so powerful, going back and changing things in the past so that you can be different in the future. Like, oh my goodness, I'm for it. I just love it all. And yes, so I'm grateful to be here and talk to somebody that is such a specialist in that. I am more of a specialist in like the galactic side, the starseed side. And this is something that has been my passion for, I feel like my whole life, I've got to say, like ever since I was a kid. My first imaginary friend was girl, and her name was Star Child. Like, how perfect is that? And I remember
love that.
I remember telling my mom, like, Star Child needed a place at the table, and, like, it was totally I'm such a typical Starseed kid.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And, Starseeds is obviously a huge topic that we cover in the Akashic Records. I have to admit that I am not a full galactic historian, so I do not spend a full reading going into the depths of someone's starseed mission because my readings are very much focused on what do you need to know right now today to help you move forward. And a lot of the time that does bring in certain off-Earth lifetimes, as I call them. So lifetimes within different planetary systems, within parallel universes. And it's full because it helps to build that bigger picture, that soul level objective perspective that the Akashic Records offers. So I know that everybody who's listening to this episode is going to be like, Jenny, tell me everything about star seeds, about star beings. Just feel free to share what you want to share today on this topic.
Oh, thank you. So I have to say that my journey started, like I said, as a kid, experiencing starseeds as kids are really unique. They have this otherworldly wisdom to them. And I really think that they are such old, wise souls. And I actually do kids mentorships. It's not something that a lot of people know, but I do like family and kid mentorships. And I get to work with these kids and they just remind me so much of myself. And it reminds me so much of what it's like to be so gifted and so open psychically at such a young age. And the kind of like issues and scary things that it can create for them, but then also the power and the strength that they can feel in themselves at such a young age is just like mind blowing, right? And I feel like kids, every generation of kids is just getting more and more crystalline, more and more advanced, more and more awakened,
Absolutely.
coming in with more of the awakened consciousness, which I think is just more soul more soul light in the body, right? A lot of us had to work to open up to have that soul trickle down back into the body. But a lot of kids are learning so much more of that. So for me, it was like the typical starseed childhood. I created the most difficult soul contracts you could ever imagine. A lot of starseeds are going to notice that they've had really difficult childhoods. And they had that so that it could almost guarantee an awakening in a way, as bad as it sounds, to like really go through massive amounts of like abuse. And for me, it was like an abusive parents, two different kinds of abuse, but very abusive parents. And then also like massive religious traumas, massive religious programming and abuse as well. And like a lot of starseeds will choose crazy things like that and have these like dark nights of the soul at such a young age that it forces them to rise. Like, where are you going to go from there? And you become a seeker. I call it a seeker, where all of a sudden in your teenage years or your young adult years, you're like, okay, this is all the things that I've been experiencing is all the things I don't want. So let me just throw that back. Like, I left the religion, I left all the things that were hurting me, right? And then you become this seeker and you start going down these rabbit holes online. And you're just like, for me, it was NDEs, like near-death experiences. I had to know what happens when you die, and is everyone seeing the same thing? And why isn't anyone talking about this? If everyone's seeing the same kind of experiences when they cross over, seeing the same things on the other side, and it's just proof that we have eternal souls. I was looking for proof. I was looking for a way to prove it to myself. So different starseeds go down different rabbit holes, but you'll become obsessed with something and you become this crazy seeker mind, right? And so that's a really good arc for seed as a child. It's like really, really difficult thing. Then we move into breaking away from that and going into seeker mode and seeking answers about whatever it is that you go down your rabbit hole about. And all the while, there's something else going on in the background. I call it the starseed urgency. There's this feeling that you could feel usually in your solar plexus, right at the top of your stomach. Maybe the heart, maybe the solar plexus in that area. For me, it was the stomach. And it felt like something pushing from within. And it was pushing me on the inside out, like pushing outwards. And it kept saying in this voice, I know I'm here for a reason. I'm supposed to be doing something. I'm here to help people in some way. I'm here to make the world a better place. Like, what is it? What is it? What is it? I can't figure out what it is. And it can cause a lot of stress and anxiety because the feeling will not go away. And that's the Starseed mission trying to come online. It's being activated. It's coming online and it's letting you know, yep, you do have a purpose. We all have an inner purpose, obviously, for being on Earth, which is our own personal healings and stuff like that. But we also have an outer purpose. And a starseed's outer purpose is so big, it just pushes and pushes from within, right? And so you're going to have that. I remember even as a little girl saying things to my mom, I know I'm here to make a difference. Like, I know that I was placed on this earth to help in some way. And when you hear a kid say that, you're like, oh, that's so cute. And I was like, seriously, I'm serious, Mom. I'm telling you, I have a mission. And she's like, oh, okay. All of these are little signs that you are a starseed, especially the urgent mission feeling. And then also, I would say feeling like you don't fit in. Like, macrocosm, you don't fit in with humanity. Yeah, you look around at humans and you're like, what are they doing? How come they're hurting each other like this? How can they hurt animals like this? How do they hurt the planet? I cannot even compute all the kinds of things that they're doing and understand how they could do that. And in good conscience, still look at themselves in the mirror, right? There's a real disconnect from humanity, which is hard and something that we have to overcome and forgive and learn to transmute that into compassion. And so that's the macrocosm of the not fitting in. But the microcosm is many starseeds don't feel like they fit in with their own families. Like, I literally spoke some other language, it felt like, of the soul. I just knew, well, that's not really my mom and dad, or that's not really my sister. Like, I'm one in a group that doesn't make sense. I'm the one that doesn't fit. That's a very common feeling as well for a starseed. And so I think that if you're experiencing all of that and you've had all of that, it's a really, really good indication that you're here with a mission, that you have this grander purpose, and it's not just ego saying that. It truly is, you are meant to use your gifts, which I call soul gifts, to be of service here on Earth, right? That's the mission. Use your soul gifts in service. And so you probably also likely had gifts poking through the surface of reality. As a kid, I used to hear music. that no one else could hear. And it was always when I was trying to fall asleep at night. I would be trying to fall asleep and I could hear, sometimes it was piano, sometimes it was like a beat. No one else could hear it. And I was like, with my little antenna of my ear chakra for clairaudience, I was just tuning into other worlds and other realms. And it was wild. And then other ones start to come online too, right? The clairs are the foundation of all psychic gifts. If you don't have the clairs locked down, you can't really do anything. So that's a great place to start. Then there's clairs start to come online. You start to feel energy and hear things or see things or know things. And that's also another huge sign. So, and I would just say, like, my definition of starseed is something that you said, I think, earlier in this conversation, where it's just like any soul that's had a lifetime off world. Like, I don't know that I've met any soul that wasn't a starseed. It's just that they're maybe not awakened to that in themselves yet. Right? There's a difference between the awakened starseed that remembers, oh yeah, I had a life in Pleiades, or I had a dream about being a mantis being. But there's no soul that I have ever seen in doing my own Akashic readings, past life readings, channelings, and all of that, where they are just like God source. And then they're, because we all start as God source. And then all of a sudden they're on Earth. I've always seen that souls do like a parallel move across and they become these angelic beings. And then they slowly descend down through the dimensions to prepare themselves for Earth, which is a much lower frequency. So they slowly descend. Okay, I'll have an angelic lifetime, then maybe I'll do some kind of an Arcturian lifetime, maybe Andromedan, then Venusian. And I'm slowly coming down to get ready for Earth. And in fact, they even have like training systems in the Pleiades to get people ready, where if you have a in the Pleiades right before Earth, you can go into their training centers where they can pump a room full of 3D energy. And your task is to hold your higher frequency while being surrounded by that lower energy. If you can do it there, then hopes are that you'll be able to do it here and to help you wake up faster, right? So I could go on and on and on, but I feel like I'm going to take a breath.
No, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I'm so pleased that you touched on the descent process, because I sometimes think it's just a case of we've split from source and then we end up here. It's not, it's so much more of a complex process. And this is why when you look into all of the different systems, there's a thing called a cosmology that goes with the system, because you have to understand that there is this whole process. And along that journey, we get gifts and skills. We also get traumas and woundings along that journey. I also love the fact that you picked up on the Palladian training schools, because there and the Arcturian training schools are something that has come up a lot for people in their Akashic Records work with me, where they've been in these specific training schools, really honing in on gifts and skills for when they do come to. So I'm glad that's something that's an experience that you've had as well. What was it, do you think, that really helped connect to star beings, your star family? Because I know that we are in this age of cosmic consciousness. People are now waking up to, not only am I a soul, but I'm a soul who has been on this evolutionary process throughout these different systems, universes, star systems, worlds. What was it, do you think, that really clicked in place for you? If you could talk a little bit about that and maybe your first contact and your first star being experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember, like I said, having like Star Child be my imaginary friend as a kid. So that was a big one. And then I started hearing the music and different things. That was all clairaudience coming online. And then it evolved into me being able to have like conversations in my mind, which is telepathy, with angels, with my spirit guides. But I actually grew up in a haunted house, which was like another kind of like difficult challenge I put into my soul contracts, but it was very activating too in a way. Because think about how you're always around a ghost. You are always being like communicated with through something outside of your own reality. So even though it was difficult and scary, it would definitely be an activating thing, especially for if somebody was a medium. I can see how that would really activate them into that. So for me, it evolved from hearing music to hearing telepathic conversations. And then it evolved to hearing like ghosty stuff, which is kind of scary, hearing scratching and growling. It was creepy. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is the way that I learned how to communicate with my spirit guides, which can be galactic, can be ancestors, can be angelic, can be lots of things, is to hone in on my clairs. I just decided, what is this? And I researched what it was. And then I practice. Clairaudience is clear hearing. So that's the ear chakras. They're actually right above your physical ears. And they're like this maroon burgundy color. No one really talks about those chakras, but they're there. And then your ears. And that's your ability to hear beyond your own world. And then clairvoyance is connected to your physical eyes as well, because you can experience clairvoyance with your eyes open or eyes closed in your mind's eye. And it is the ability to see beyond your own world. And then we have clairsentience, which is the empath, and that's the ability to feel energy in your heart and in your solar plexus and really over all of your skin and your aura when you get really good at practicing that. And then the claircognizance is the deep knowing. That's really like a lot of channeling, like the downloads and the channeling and stuff like that. I would say that if someone was wanting to reach out and connect with their galactic guides and learn more about their spirit guides, and they wanted to do it on their own, like not reach out to someone like me or you, they wanted to do it on their own, I would say practice those clairs. I'm a master of the clairs. If you can see, feel, hear, and know what is around you, and I don't mean like the 3D world around you, I mean what's actually around you, it's going to give you a leg up in every single way. And I have seen that no matter what advanced spiritual gift someone is using, the foundation is always the clairs. If they're chanters, if they're light language artists, if they're energy activators, I know that they are using clairvoyance to see, feel, hear, know, and guide even astral guides, people that take people on astral journeys. It's all the clairs. So truly that's the secret. And I don't think enough people understand this is so have access to this right now. Everyone has. It's built in,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I have this course that I created called Cosmic Clairs, and it's brand new. It just came out this month, and it's all about master training in each one of those clairs, plus psychic block removals, which can be witch wounds and past life things like you were talking about, and also like the reconnections, because those clairs should be connected to the pineal gland. And so I literally will like pull them back and anchor them into the pineal gland, each one of those. So I started with the clairs, and once I was able to see, or pointing at my ear as I said that made no sense. When I was able to hear and see and feel and know what was going on, when I started speaking to my guides, I would get a reply. Because before that, it feels like a one-way conversation. But when you practice that, and you can practice it with your spirit guides too, I would speak to them and be like, can you speak up really loud so I can hear you? I know you're there because I can feel. I was so empathic. I can feel that you're in the room with me because I'm sweating buckets. And I can tell that someone's here with me, but I can't hear you. What can you do to help me hear you? Just talk to them, right? Like, can you be louder? Can you shout at me? It's okay. I need to hear you. I want to know that you're there. And then you've got to learn how to get so quiet within, because everyone, not everyone, but 90% of the psychic blocks people think they have is just a noisy mind. And I've come to know that working with people. I'm like, okay, you're not blocked. You don't know how to quiet your mind. Let me help you to learn how to do that, right? And then I would say one of the most powerful things that I do before I even try to connect, before I would meditate, before just to protect myself, is I create a sacred space before I do any spiritual work or any energy work. And that is probably the most important thing I would say people should take away from this. Sacred, because you need to make sure that you are protected, because the truth is we live in a multidimensional universe. There's higher dimensional beings who will be happy to meet you with love. There's neutral, like think gray aliens. They're just neutral. They don't really care about you. And then there's like lower beings that would be happy to feed off of you. And so we have, pay respect to what's out there and always surround yourself with a sacred space. So for me, I do that with archangels. I go Archangel Michael on the left, Archangel Raphael on the right, Archangel Haniel in front, and then I call my highest human self behind me. And I ask them to swirl into my body, fill my body up with love, healing, and their heightened frequencies. And then I feel myself starting to rise, like percolating energy rising up. And then I call on God source. And I'm like, okay, whatever your term for that. Some people don't like that, whatever you like. You call on God source to send down the white light, or sometimes you see it as golden. And you ask for it to come down into your body, going into the crown chakra, and then flooding all the way down to your feet. And then I always say, anchor me in the light of divine truth. Let everything that happens in this session be true and for my highest good. And then you're protected. You're anchored into truth. You're not going to get tricked. A lot of people are worried about false light and getting tricked. Sacred space. Literally, if you set up a sacred space, you're going to erase all of that nonsense. And it's going to be so held in the light. You're anchored into God and anchored into Goddess. And for me, it also creates clarity, right? It's not just about protection. Now, all of a sudden, I've created this high vibrational connection. Everything's louder. Everything's clearer when I'm looking at it with my third eye. I can see it. I can hear it. I can feel it. I can know it. It's so loud and clear and easy for me. So I've learned that sacred space is worth the time. I do it with every client. I never skip it. Every reading, every membership event that I do, every course, every class I teach, sacred space at the very beginning, and then we go off and do what we want to do. And everyone can feel the difference.
I love that. I think it's so important because I think there's so much noise in the spiritual community about everything's just love and light. There aren't these lower vibrational beings. And I've just completed actually a 5-part series in my membership all about the astral realm and the evolutionary and the devolutionary and discernment and resonance and all of that. But I think it's important to have those types of conversations because if you're trying to say everything's just love and light, when you do come across, which you will, as your clairs are coming online, if you do come across a being from the more devolutionary stream, those lower vibrational beings, what I see a lot in people is they will shut themselves down completely then. And a lot of the time run off to dogmatic religion because it's like, oh no, this is too scary. So let's just shut it down and pretend that I don't have all of these gifts and abilities. Whereas if people have these conversations and we have an understanding of what's out there and how to create sacred spaces and things for ourselves in our work, then we're not shutting ourselves off to the higher information, wisdom that we can all bring through. As you said, everybody has all of the clairs, but a lot of people are shut off to them. And then when they start to open up, if they have one of these more negative experiences, they shut themselves down completely and don't want to even go into that conversation. So I would love to hear more about the work that you do in Starseed Academy. I know you've mentioned that you work with children, which I think is fabulous. I know in my work in the Akashic Records, I don't read for children, but I know from my work through reading for the parents of these children that are coming through, I cannot wait to see what is to come through these children in the future. So I think that is such good work. But what else are you doing in Starseed Academy?
So yeah, the children is incredible, like literally working with them one-on-one to activate them into it's never too early. You're never too young to like learning your clairs. And I teach channeling to adults. That's my main specialty. And I teach it to the kids too. And it's so fun. But I would say that my big thing right now, I do a lot of different things. But the thing that I'm really known for is clean and ethical channeling. So creating a version of channeling that is ego-free. Because there are so many people out there that would tell you that they're channeling Jesus or the Pleiadian Council. And then the message that comes through is actually filled with separation frequency. I can feel it, I can hear it, I can see it, or it's fear frequency, or it's something that is not something Jesus would say, basically. So that is someone channeling that is still heavily programmed, still heavily with their own kind of programming. And then the channel information is getting filtered through that. Right? So maybe they're making a connection, but then they're filtering it through themselves. They're not creating a proper sacred space, obviously, because that would be the key thing. And then the other thing that really creates a powerful channeler in the way that I teach it is layering the clairs, right? So there are a lot of channelers that just work off of clairvoyance. They just go about, okay, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. Then they're trying to interpret it themselves. And clairvoyance is very symbolic. That's going to get you also off track pretty quickly for people. You need to have all 4 clairs booming, online, overlapping, and you need to learn how to let them all go at once. Like the overlap can be overwhelming, but you learn how to move through it. It's like, okay, I'm seeing this. Oh, then I'm hearing this to confirm that. And then the claircognizance download. Okay, because this, and this. Ooh, now I'm getting a chill of confirmation for that. Okay, next vision. And it's backed up by what I see. It's backed up by what I know. It's backed up by what I feel. And the kinds of details, the accuracy and the synchronicity for my clients is wild. They're just like, you couldn't have known that. Or just like the power of the message and what they feel and the way that I'm talking about things that they know I couldn't know. It's real. Like it just keeps proving to people, oh, this is real. So then they want to learn how to do that the way that I do it. And then that's what I've been doing. Inside of Psychic Light, I teach people, which is my signature certified program. You get certified as a master channeler, and I teach people how to channel in that way. And there's a lot of really cool submodules in there, like even how to channel light language, soul language, that kind of thing. Trans channeling, that's a really cool way to channel too, really letting a spirit embody you for that in a safe way for that moment. And then I realized that I didn't have a program for energy work yet. And I do a lot of really advanced activations and upgrades in crystalline threading through people. And so I recently have created another certified program called Weaver of Light. And it's very Andromedan in nature. They're very much, Andromedan beings are very much weavers of light. And so using like my own Andromedan guides, we created this incredible curriculum to teach people how to do, this is way beyond energy healing and like what you would learn in Reiki. This is super advanced, like soul retrievals, past life healing, and doing like dark entity removals, parasitic removals, the upgrades that we talked about, crystalline upgrades, activations, reconnections, it's all in there. And so those two are my two main programs. And so if you feel really called to channeling, Psychic Light is for you. And if you feel really called to being an energy healer and an activator, Weaver of Light is the right one for that. And then most recently, I've been doing one-on-one mentorship. And I'm getting so much fulfillment out of that. I'm so used to just teaching classes. And here I am doing 1 month Starseed mentorships where we're going really deeply into each person's Star Nations Alliance. Your Star Nations Alliance is like, answers the question, who are you here to be an ambassador of? Whose frequency are you here to anchor in? Because that is directly related to your gifts, and it's directly related to who you're here to serve, like your niche client, and it's directly related to your mission. Who is your Star Nations Alliance that is connected to this timeline, to your soul contracts right now? Are you here to represent Pleiadians? Are you a hybrid that's here to represent some kind of Lemurian priestess with, I don't know, like a Venusian, like something like that? And the information coming through is so specific for people. I had somebody, a beautiful client that was a Lyran galactic diviner. And I was like, what are we even talking about? I don't even know what that is. But this Lyran being came in and was showing her, that was her in another lifetime, the Lyran being, this feline being. If somebody doesn't know what that is, it's like this lioness, beautiful lioness being. And she was this very witchy kind of lioness that was able to read timeline potential. So she would have clients, Lyra, come to her and they would be on a track and she could see ahead and be like, if you don't change anything, this is what's going to happen. But if you shift this way, you could potentially do this. And if you shift this way, you could potentially do this. Because fortune telling is very dependent on timelines. You know, fortune telling, like, I don't necessarily know that I fully believe in being able to tell someone's fortune, because as soon as they change your mind about something, the outcome is different. But if you can do timeline reading, then you can say, okay, this is the timeline you're on. This is what's going to happen. But if you shift something, you could potentially, this one's open to you as well. So this is a human girl that I'm working with, and she's got this lioness coming in and being like, you know how to read timelines. We're diviners, galactic diviners of time. And we work with the ancestral realms of each client. So their ancestors come in and help really plot and read the timelines as well. Imagine just learning that. She came to me and she's like, oh, I'm an energy healer, but I feel like there's more to it than that. I'm like, girl, yes, there is. Now her offer suite completely changes, right? It gets really, really niche down into what her spiritual specialty, into what her cosmic niche is. So I have a lot of like spiritual entrepreneurs that come to me to get really specific. What is it? What's my power? Who am I here to represent? What is that, that very specific gift that I have, and how does it work, and everything. So that's my 1 month mentorship, Sovereign Creator Codex. And that is like Star Nations Alliances and exactly who you're here to serve and how to do it. And it's really specific and it's really fun too.
I think that's beautiful, because I think what I see a lot with people is people will modality shop. They will get all of these different courses and certifications because they know there's something more in them that wants to come through. But they go through all these different modalities and we still don't find it. And I know we look at it a lot in the Akashic Records, where it's like, okay, what's the actual, that point, that niche that you need to get into to help bring it through? Because what I'm seeing a lot is with this expansion into cosmic consciousness is not only are people here to bring through their past life gifts and skills, but they're also here to birth through new practices and modalities that are for the future times here on Earth. that they have specific wisdom with them, whether it's from their galactics or their parallel universes or wherever their angelic realms, lots of different places. And they have the codes to this in their light grid, as we would say in the Akashic Records. And so they can feel it, but they go modality shopping and they're like, oh, it's not quite right. And when you can tap them into, actually, it's this, and they open up to that, it's so amazing to see it burst through. So I can completely see why it's so fulfilling. Exactly. For you as well as a practitioner to be able to help guide them into that direction and then see it come into full fruition.
Because there's no course. What they're searching for does not exist because they're supposed to make the course. They're supposed to teach it. So they embody it first, and then they get really good at what it is, master it, and then they're supposed to teach it. How else are we going to come across things like Arcturian healing and all these different crazy things that are coming up? So yeah, it is like my absolute honor to expand our spiritual community in that way and these modalities, one kind of new earth leader at a time being activated into it.
I think it's such good work. One thing I would like to touch on with you, because this episode will be going out at the end of 2024. And you, I am sure, know, as I do and other people who work in this field, 2025 is another mass awakening period on us. We've had some big timeline jumps in 2024, and we're going into this mass awakening period. What's for you picking up in respect for what's to come for that mass awakening period? And also, how would you want to give people a word of comfort, a word of compassion to say, look, you have everything that you need to get through this in one piece? Because I know when we come into these, not only the timeline jumps, but also mass awakening periods, it can bring up a lot of fear, which of course is the frequency that we don't want to get sucked into. So if you could just give some kind of words of comfort and what you're feeling into for 2025.
Yeah. So 2025 is going to be an absolutely huge year. Think 2020 and how much the world changed in 2020. I'm getting vibes like that. And I would just say to people that I know that that sounds scary because you look back and you think, oh my God, I don't want to do that again. But let's just really reflect on this from a higher perspective. 2020 was extremely difficult for a lot of reasons. There was a lot of like separation and there was a lot of like battling. And then there was also COVID. And this seems like all of these dark nights of the soul. But what really happened was the biggest wave of awakening that humanity has seen yet. And so sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, the shadow supports the light, right? The shadow of those times creates the wave of awakening, the huge, huge wave of awakening. Because a lot of people have to hit rock bottom. They have to have that dark night of the soul. They have to be a little bit smacked in the face with it. Oh God, I can't go to work. Oh my God, the world's changing. What's happening? It needed to happen. And then here we go. And we had the biggest wave of awakening that we've seen, right? And so if we are talking about waves of awakening and we're expecting another huge, like global sized wave, it's going to be something just as big as that. It has to be, right? But we have to understand that it's divinely timed and orchestrated for the highest good of humanity. We can't just get into the fear frequency and into the battling online in the comments section. What are you guys doing? Get out of there. That is just a place to pull your frequency down so quickly. If you find yourself arguing online, take a step back. Something you've been derailed in some way. Because the higher frequency is to look, like zoom out and look down at the situation and go, how is this serving the greater ascension plan? Because the greater ascension plan can't be stopped. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen alongside a lot of purging because the one ascension symptom is the purge. So we're purging corruption. We're purging darkness. Microcosm again, personally, we're going to purge. Macrocosm, our social structures are going to purge. So all this purging is going to happen so that it can hold more light, so that there's space for the light to even get in. We have to make space for it, right? So yes, it's going to be chaotic. Yes, it's going to be a really big year, but that's what it looks like when you're literally evolving the consciousness of an entire world and species. How else are we going to do it, right? Sometimes things have to crumble in order for us to be able to build in replacement to that. But I've been assured many, many times from the Council for Humanity, which is a galactic council for humanity, like a branch off of the GFL. I've been assured many times that they are keeping us away from apocalyptic timelines, that they are keeping us away from what the movies portray, the end of the world scenarios, and now you're the only one alive left on Earth. They're keeping us away from that as much as they can. But as star seeds and as awakening souls, as light workers, just like you and me, our job is to ease people onto the higher timeline, right? To ease them over to that instead of them being pulled into their ascension kicking and screaming, which then can create those harder timelines. So if we can ease people by being the example of love and light and unity and look, I've unplugged from the 9 to 5 programming, slave programming, and it's okay on this side. But you are the source of your own abundance. They've been lying to you. Like you don't need a handout. You can create it. You can create everything. Oh, wait a minute. You're the sovereign creator of your own reality in every way. Well, we need to wake up to that new level of like, okay, hold on. Like I can literally mold my own timeline. If everybody that information and the support, you need support to do that, and the support to do that, and the healing through the purge, we'd all be easing ourselves onto a higher timeline. So we need all the coaches. So the message then to people listening is we need you. If you're listening to the podcast, you are one of the people that is supposed to be on the support side. We need all the coaches, the healers, the channelers, the readers, the activators, the light language artists. We need every ground crew member on board to support this huge wave of awakening that is about to happen. All these newly awakened people need lighthouses. And there's a lot of crazy stuff in the spiritual community that's ego. We need to be the lighthouses while people can feel the ring of truth in your words. You need to walk your talk. You need to really step into that. So if you haven't been practicing your clairs, get on it. If you haven't been doing the shadow work of past life healings and all those kinds of things, get on it. It's time. You're going to be called like a coach calling you off the bench into the game. Like you're going to get called into the game very soon. So this is your get ready moment.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that's been coming through for people, I know over the past sort of 5-6 months of readings, is it's all hands on deck. It's now a time where it has to be all hands on deck because there are so many people who are going to go through the awakening process who are, as those people were back in 2020, trying to work their way through the online world of what the hell is going on, not only in the reality, but what's going on with me. What's happening to me if I'm hearing things or seeing things that perhaps other people aren't hearing and seeing. And it takes everybody with all of their different gifts and skills to be able to serve others. It's not a case of there are too many. It's a case of there are not enough people actually stepping up into that role of service and showing up as their true authentic self and saying, this is what I can help you with, and I think the more people that do that in 2025, the better it will be for humanity. Because as you said, awakening periods and mass awakening periods are difficult because they're trying to shake people out of the comfort zone. The comfort zone is the home of the ego, and people can get very comfortable in the comfort zone. And if your soul has wanted you to do other things and to really help and get onto that evolutionary timeline, sometimes you need that external wake-up call. You might have had these nudges inside and had these sort of dalliances with different practices and things and just go, I'll just stay comfortable for now. And it's just not going to be viable. It's interesting because one of the things that I'm bringing in for 2025 is that timeline work in the Akashic Records, because I think my message from my guides back in the summer this year was very much about helping people to deepen their own personal practice. And one of the ways that they wanted me to share with people is to do timeline work and really get into what timeline work is, because there's a lot of nonsense out there about timeline work, which is, say this thing before you go to bed and you're going to wake up on a new timeline. But as you will know, it doesn't work like that because you can't hold a frequency to that higher timeline. And what we're going to be doing with the Akashic Records word is you in this current timeline having a conversation with and getting information from you on that higher timeline that you're aspiring to align to, and understanding the steps that need to be taken to get to that highest timeline in kind of the shortest route available. Because you'll always get to that highest timeline. It's just whether or not it takes you a year or if it takes you 20 years, because we do have free will. We do like to take detours. So I think it's a really interesting thing that you're going to be bringing through more of these beautiful soul-led individuals to help serve the collective. So well done for doing that work. So before you go, I would love it if you just shared a quick, crazy story for people about an experience you've had, a reading you've done for a client, something that has just stuck in your mind with anything that you've done.
Ooh, okay. Let me think on that. I've had a lot of crazy experiences in session. I feel like I continually am learning. I'm just a life student because like my clients teach me so much just from me reading them. And so I would say probably in my intensive 1 month Starseed mentorship, when we're doing the Star Nations alliances, I experience a lot of like mind blowing things there. And I think that one that was recently really big was this client, this beautiful woman of mine with already had this great, beautiful Starseed business going. But she wanted to know more specifically, what is my Star Nations Alliance? What is my niche? Or one of them, because you can have more than one. And what happened was a gray alien came in to speak to her, two of them, the shorter one and then a taller one. And they were speaking to her about how gray aliens are us on a future timeline. Like on a timeline somewhere, that's humans in the future, that they have evolved themselves right out of a lot of the things that make us human and favored logic and favored intelligence and favored technology and they favored all of that. And what they had lost was emotional connection, passion, creativity, music, poetry, art. And unfortunately, they've lost the ability to breed. They had can't even they're on the brink of extinction, right? So they're like, how do we dial backwards through time to fix this? And it's called hybridization programs, where they take this on the brink of extinction gray and they hybridize or they genetically mix with a human woman that is filled with life and creativity and passion and that higher perspective, like an awakened person that is filled with, again, the things that they're missing: emotion, passion, creativity, artistry, all of that. And these hybridization programs is them taking DNA from that woman and DNA from the gray and then creating what we call hybrid babies, right? And that's their way of bringing themselves back from the brink of extinction and trying to save what the best parts are of them, but what the best parts of humanity, and create something new. And then another example of that same person was a reptilian, talking about a reptilian council of light members. So somebody that was of the light, talking about how the most ancient families of the Dracos are stuck in their spiritual evolution. They're stuck at 4D. They're really just stuck on 4D and they cannot evolve, and it's been millennia and they're not going anywhere. And so if we, again, take the most ancient ones of them, and human women come to save the day again, human woman, that is of the oneness perspective. This time it was something a little different that was needed. That's somebody that was of the unity consciousness, praise consciousness, oneness perspective. And we put that together, then we can start to bring their evolution forward into 5D, which is love. 5D frequency is love. We need to bring them forward into love, right? And so humans have so much to give and to offer. But what is happening is these women that are experiencing abductions because they're a part of these hybridization programs may not remember that they agreed to that in their soul contracts, and it's very scary. So they're frightened. So they've had scary abduction experiences. Grays are not warm emotionally. Any kind of interaction with them is actually scary, even if it's not dangerous. So really scary abductions. Who do they have to help them through that? You talk about that, it's too taboo. People make fun, people think you're crazy. There's no serious container or membership or mentorship for the abductees, specifically of the hybridization programs, because they are suffering in a very unique way. Maybe they know they've had a child and they miss it and they don't know how can I visit it? How can I form that connection? Or maybe there's been some karmic energetic cords that unfortunately connected to the father that are not good for the highest good that need to be cut. Or maybe just the fear of them being abducted. It's creating fear frequency and blocks, and they can wreak havoc on someone. Imagine going through that, but not understanding it. So first special needs that was coming through was to, in the new year, serve those women in a serious way that makes them feel seen and heard and not ridiculed, in a compassionate way, and do the energy work. and do the emotional work and take them to visit the nurseries, do whatever needs to happen to help them to heal and help them understand what they're doing is a blessed and divine thing. And it's real, that they're not crazy, that it's real. So that's something that's brand new that I have been channeling and moving through with a client and seeing that those people deserve to be supported. And those women are incredibly strong. And if we can support them, imagine the kinds of things that they could teach us.
Exactly. Exactly. And, it's always a case, I think, that we have to all acknowledge that because of our programming conditioning from birth to now, because we're all still constantly bombarded with programming and conditioning, we have such limited beliefs in how the world actually is and the universe and the cosmos. And I think once you start to dismantle the programming and the conditioning, you really start to look at and dismantling all of those limiting beliefs. You're opening yourself up. You're creating a space to allow all of this higher information, higher wisdom to come through. So when people are talking about things, keeping an open heart, I think, is the most important thing to, one, allow that person to be heard, and secondly, to really sit with yourself and think, well, hold on, is this challenging a belief that I have, a fixed belief that I need to let go of? So I think this work is just beautiful. I think I could talk to you all day, but I do know that you have to rush off, my love. So thank you so much for your time today. Everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this. I will definitely get Jenny back on for another podcast episode if she is willing and able in 2025. And I will pop all of Jenny's details, as always, into the show notes today. And please do follow her on social media. She has a fabulous YouTube channel as well. Definitely give that one a shout out because I love your YouTube channel. And connect with her. And if you feel called to go work with her, then please do. She is an amazing, beautiful soul inside and out who will help you unlock all of those gifts that you have within you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne.